Hi everyone, welcome to part 3. Okay, Caruana has just played a5, and as I said, this only adds to his problems, but it was very hard to find a satisfactory defense, and we just saw why a few alternatives didn't work. So Giri continued with rook a4, using a semi-open a file to swing his rook over and attack the black king and get his last inactive piece involved in the attack. And this is strong, but equally good and faster was rook h5, which threatens an immediate mate on h7, and black is in serious trouble no matter how he deals with it. For example, if he tries h6 now, then bishop d5 pins the f pawn and threatens rook takes h6, and if g takes h6, which is going to be forced to prevent mate from the queen, then queen g6 check, and it can't be taken because this pawn is pinned. It's going to be mate again thanks to the very powerful bishop on b2, so that's going to be decisive advantage of well over 4 pawns, so it's clearly winning for white. Similarly, if g6, then queen f5, threatening rook takes h7, and after king takes h7, queen h3 check, and mate on h8 is very strong, and black can't take the queen, of course, or rook g5 is mate. Another possibility is f5, but now queen c4 check is again very strong. Rook f7 is right. If king h8, then queen h4 is completely winning. So say rook f7, and now rook takes h7 check, wins quickly. This rook is pinned, so if it takes, obviously this rook is falling, and meanwhile rook takes g7 check, and all manner of a crushing attack is threatened, so it's totally winning. And the only other possibility was king h8 in that last variation we looked at. Hold on now. Yeah, rook a4. So anyway, we'll leave that. But needless to say, all the pawn moves lost, so it was looking very, very strong. Immediate rook h5. So Caruana played rook e8, and this is the best defensive move that black can play now, at least trying to gain back some central control. In this case, the e5 square, his knight, rook and queen are all controlling it now, and maybe if he gets to play knight e5, he can hope to reduce the attacking scope of his bishop on b2, or at least, provoke a weakness with f4, and then play knight g6 maybe, or look for something. But on the other hand, Giri can now increase the pressure even further on Caruana's king with the rook g5, which is what he played. And this rook moving also discovers an attack on the rook here at a8, so it's a very strong attacking move. White has much bigger fish to fry than winning this rook, but the combined threat makes it doubly crushing. So g6 is how Caruana responded. It's a very hard move to play when you don't have a dark squared bishop and you're facing a bishop on b2. It's a sign that something has gone seriously wrong. That said, it is the correct move in order to defend, but an incredibly hard one to make. And it's very easy to make matters worse for yourself when faced with such an attack. A lot of players would be too afraid to play this move, g6. So for example, he might have been tempted to play instead f6 in order to blunt the bishop here on b2, but now comes the powerful continuation, bishop d5 check, where king f8 is forced. If instead king h8, white has a very nice continuation. If you want to try and spot it, then stop the video now. Queen takes h7 check is the move. It's what Nimzovich would call the revolutionary attack. This forces mate on the next move. King takes h7 is forced, and now rook h4 is mate. So it's a very nice continuation. So after bishop d5 check, king f8 would be forced, and now queen takes h7, and white is going to win quickly here, an advantage of over 10 pawns. So it's completely winning. This rook is of course the boob because of queen takes g7, which is going to be mate. So that's an example of how easy it is to go wrong. And h6 obviously isn't working because of rook takes g7 check in a very crushing attack. So how does white continue? There's a couple of good moves, but one of them is especially good. Again, if you want to try and spot it, then stop the video now. Bishop d5 move, very nice and accurate play from Giri, who sees all too well that there is much more to be had than simply winning the rook here on a8. And this move, bishop d5, pins the f pawn and creates the monstrous threat of rook takes g6. After h takes g6, queen takes g6, and mate will follow quickly. Seeing this, Caruana defended with king f8, but after rook f4 he'd had enough of defending and resigned. And he was right to as well. There are simply too many threats to deal with. The most serious is rook takes f7 check with mate to follow, and this has to be dealt with via rook e7. But now would come queen c3, threatening queen h8, mate. This forces f6, where white can simply take with the rook takes f6 check. Again forces king e8. If instead knight takes f6 and queen takes f6 check, it's going to force mate. So rook takes f6 would force king e8, and then would come bishop c6, pinning the knights. Very strong move. Threatens rook f8 check, and after king takes f8, queen h8, and a mating attack. And black's response is again forced king d8, but now comes queen d2, and the attack rages on. Black is virtually out of moves. He can try rook a7 for example, but now comes rook f8 check, which is going to win the queen. After king c7, now bishop takes d7 and bishop takes d7. If instead rook takes d7, now bishop e5 check, king b7, queen takes d7 check, bishop takes d7, rook takes b8 check. Completely winning. So bishop takes d7 is better, but now bishop e5 check, rook takes e5, rook takes b8. And as before, completely winning game. So that's how white finally crashes through, decisively so on the dark squares, which became permanently weak after Giri's play to win black's dark squared bishop earlier in the middle game. So it was a great win for Giri and an instructive example of attacking chess. We can have a quick replay just to see the game from start to finish with the threatened squares on, which always makes it a bit more interesting. Here we go, and we'll watch it from Caruana's perspective as well, so we can see what it's like to face such an attack. The connection is a bit slow at the moment because I've got Fritz running and Camtasia at the same time, which kind of uses up a lot of RAM. But anyway, this is standard kind of Queen's Gambit accepted stuff. I believe this is called a note boom variation, although it transposed to Catalan after bishop g2. It's actually a pretty hard opening to classify. But very nice play from Giri anyway, who didn't have the best tournament, it has to be said. He won, this was the first game he'd won in the tournament, and I believe it was the only game he won, and his first win in a year at Wickenzie, so it could have gone better for him. But you know, he's still a young player. He's only 18 years old, and he's not even finished school yet, so you know, he's doing pretty well, all things considered. I believe his studies are coming to an end fairly soon, and he'll be able to give chess his full-time attention after that, so perhaps we'll see some more interesting chess from him. He's had some great victories in the past, it has to be said. He beat Carlsen in 17 moves, although it was from a blunder by Carlsen. It was, you know, a serious claim to fame. Not many people can say that they've beaten Carlsen in 17 moves. And he also had a brilliant win against Naka last year at some point. So he's got some game anyway. No one gets to a grandmaster level without having some serious talent. So there's the final position, and you know, what a terrible attack to have to face from black point of view. Look at all of these. 80% of the black pieces, excluding the king. Well, if you include the king, then it's more than 80% are on the back rank. So obviously it's murder, and black is just getting diced up on the dark squares. So yeah, like I said, an instructive game from Giri on attacking chess. So I hope you enjoyed it, and please leave any comments or thoughts. Thanks very much.